Hi, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Roll with Raya, the podcast that celebrates self development and learning. Whew, today it has already been one hell of a day,
It has.
but I am with a very special person, my oldest friend, like in the world, my actual best friend, like in real life.
Yeah.
My girl, my beautiful, beautiful. Oh, I adore her
Yeah, she
inside and
gasses me like
out.
crazy.
Tomygee. Sorry, guys, I've kind of lost some of my voice, but I had to show up for this episode. How are you, Tomisin? What's up?
I'm amazing, perfect. I feel really good to be here.
Yeah.
And just to be in this country in general, like just being with all my friends, I have had the most amazing week. So I'm very happy.
Aww. That's amazing. So Tomisin and I both share a passion of self-development, self-love and learning. And I just feel like we sort of like started our journey around the same time as well. And it's just beautiful to see how we both kind of like evolved on our journey, and also we're both like doing our own different things. Tomisin had an amazing TikTok page with the best. When I say the best, I don't lie, okay? The best of the best gems called Me, Myself, and Love. And I'm so honored to be your friend, and I just can't wait for us to get into this conversation. And I'm excited to have you in London as well. She lives in New York, by the way. That's why she said she's excited to be here. So, how are you finding London?
Oh my god, this is the first time I'm like falling in love with this city.
Wow.
Yeah. Every time I came here, I'd be like, please, what's this tiny, tiny place? Like, it's so tiny.
Yeah.
But it's been really like charming. I think it's because the weather is good as well.
Yeah.
Really warm. I got to see like new things, and I
Yeah.
just feel the charm now,
Yeah.
and I've really been enjoying it. So,
I guess because it's also really similar to New York. So
oh
it's
my god,
like,
I don't even think so.
you
I think New York is
don't.
just too much. It's just
London can be a
London is
lot
like,
though.
I feel like it's a good mix of like you see trees and grass, and then you also see like high rises.
Yeah.
You see like historical buildings, like little shops. Like I
Yeah.
feel like it's very
There's a lot of history
a
here,
bit of
yeah, for sure.
everything.
Yeah.
Whereas New York, even the air in New York. I'm so sorry if you're watching this and you're from New York.
No,
So
it
I
actually
live there.
smells.
The air,
My mom doesn't like it.
yeah,
When she came, she was like, "This place is too dirty." But I love New York.
yeah.
I like the.
Ugh. After you for 2 years, you'll be tired.
Oh my god. Okay,
Aw.
so today we're going to be playing the And game, the Friends edition. It's by the Skin Deep. I've had these cards for quite a while, and I play them with all my friends. And I just think Thomas and I don't think we've ever played it together. And we both have
We
them.
both have
We both
them.
have the cards, but we've just never played it together. This is what it looks like if you guys want to get
What
it.
version is this?
This is the Friends edition.
Okay.
Sorry, my box is literally botched. It's made its
Used and
rounds.
abused.
No, literally, it's made its rounds. But I want us to get into some of the questions. Okay, so how many questions should we do each before we get into like the actual episode? Two questions. Okay,
Teach.
two each. Okay, cool. Okay, so pick any.
Pick a card. Any
Pick a card.
card.
Pick a card. Ooh.
Another one?
Yeah, we can do
Oh, this
that.
one? Oh my gosh. Okay, the question says, what is the most unique thing about me?
Ooh. So I answer for you.
I'm shy.
Wow, this is so hard because yesterday we were literally, by the way, it was Thomas's birthday yesterday, and we're all at dinner, we're all saying like our favorite things about Thomasin, and honestly, I had to really think because I feel like there's so many things that are unique about you. But the one I will share today on this podcast is I feel like your ability to like I feel like your ability to share knowledge in a very nurturing and intentional way without being like, oh my god, I'm just teaching you something, I'm here to, do you know what I mean, without taking you to school, but instead it's like, it's very empowering. I think that is so unique about you, and I don't know anyone else that shares knowledge in that sense.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's a really good one. Okay.
So you pick?
Yeah, I'll pick.
Shut. Hey! Just kidding. Okay.
What do you think makes me happy?
Oh my gosh. What do I think makes you happy?
Yeah.
I think feeling seen, feeling heard, feeling loved. Those three things in a combination of those three things, I feel like it's very important for you to feel understood and heard. And in that way you feel loved, because like putting in the effort to communicate who you are and how you feel and how you react, I feel like for you it's very important to not have to overly communicate that and be able to be around people or be with someone that can feel and understand you without you having to, you know, overly explain. So I think that makes you very happy and at peace. And I think you also love like your family and your friends a lot. Yeah, and nice and staying pretty, staying fed, staying loved, makes you happy.
That's crazy. You know me for real, because I feel like the first one you said is so true. Like, it's kind of, I mean, it's not really always practical, but I do really appreciate when people that are in my life just know me, like, without me having to say things. Like, you just know what I like. Like, you just know. Yeah, you just feel it, you know?
Yeah.
It's really admirable. I love that, love that, love that. Okay.
I kind of want to do the one that fell.
Okay, let's do that. Do you know what it is?
No.
Okay. You just feel like because it fell, right?
Yeah.
Let's do
Speaking
that.
to me.
Ooh,
okay. Describe one experience you wish we'll have in the future.
Wow.
Ooh, that's a good one. Let's manifest.
I wish, and I know by God's grace, that we both work. I actually really want us to like work together, like properly in the future.
Really?
Yeah, in some way. I don't really know like the specifics, but I definitely want us to like do something like this on like a grander scale, even more like knowledgeable in our field. And I want us to like have families, and I want our babies to be besties.
Oh my God.
I want our babies to be besties, and I want us to like have family holidays together. Like everything we're doing now, I just pray we continue to like do it when we have our families. That's cute, isn't it? Okay.
So cute.
Okay. I don't really like that because I don't actually have an answer to that.
Okay.
What is something you never want me to forget?
Man, I never want you to forget.
Yeah. It's a bit of a deep one. Is it?
It takes reflecting.
Yeah.
I guess it's something that has happened, but something I never want you to forget is that you are so worthy and deserving of being loved exactly as you are, without having to do or change any single. And it's not to use it. It's good for everyone, but like specifically you, just like I want you to continue to remind yourself every single day that as you are is enough, and the right people, the right circumstances, the right everything will meet you where you are. This isn't saying you're perfect to never work, never like do anything,
Yeah.
but fundamentally, who you are is more than enough, and it's beautiful, and I love it so deeply, and I trust that the world sees that too, and the people and things that you're looking for will find you as you are. I
Wow.
want you to always remember that.
That really resonates. Thank you very much. That was really beautiful. It really resonates with like where I'm at right now. I feel like I
Really?
really needed to hear that. Yeah. Love
Wow.
that. Always like this is literally what our FaceTime calls are like.
It's actually so messed up.
No, it's
Like, we'll go a long time without talking. When we now talk, you guys will be crying.
no, like no, like literally crying, and I'm just like, sometimes I literally laugh midway. I'm like, well, how did we get here? Like, what is going on? Like, it's crazy. We actually okay. So initially, when I wanted Tomisin and I to do an episode together, it actually took me a really long time to conceptualize what I wanted the episode to be about, just because she's so dynamic and there's so many things we share in common. But I felt like self mastery, or like, self development, which is what this podcast is about, was just the perfect fit, because she embodies every single thing that my brand is like about, or like this podcast wants to become. And also, I just feel like we genuinely did have a journey, and I really wanted to like just share that journey, because we've actually never spoken about it together, and I feel like it happened around the same time.
Yeah.
Right? So first of all, did you get questions for me as well?
Yeah.
Okay, we can get into that. um how did you come into yourself? Like, how did that start? How did you become this?
Yes, it's actually the most. It's like kind of messed up, but it's also a very, very hilarious story.
Okay.
So, I think what kick-started my journey to kind of myself was I was in uni or college or whatever.
Yeah.
And I had a roommate, and when we first moved in together, we kind of used to like clash a lot. And it's very, very unlike me to butt heads with someone,
Yeah.
especially someone that I'm living with. So it was kind of like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And we were both very like strong individuals.
Yeah.
So it was kind of strange, but we used to get into it. One day, I'm going to send her this episode to watch this, because one day she sat me down on the table, and I don't remember what we were talking about. And she just asked me, "Do you even love yourself?"
Oh.
At the time, I was like, "What the hell? Like, how can you ask me that?" Like, I got really defensive. I was like, "Of course I love myself. Like, why wouldn't I love myself? What's that about?" And initially, when we had the conversation, I was very much like, "This is weird."
Yeah.
But it took a while for that question to really, really sink in, and for me to genuinely reflect, like, do I actually love myself? Like, am I where I am right now with the decisions I've made and the things that are sort of happening in my life? Like, does this reflect the life of somebody that actually cares about themselves? And it was interesting because I was kind of offended at first, but it kind of kickstarted that. So I'd never reflected in my life.
Yeah.
I did not ever ask myself questions or look within. I never did that.
No, I get
So
that.
that was like my
Yeah.
first opportunity to do that, and it was a mass. I will never ever forget that story, because I
Yeah.
think it genuinely changed my life, and she really changed my life, because it gave me that opportunity to start to explore myself and start to face things that I had been bottling in and down for so long, and that sort of led me to where I am now, in the sense where I'm not afraid of myself anymore, and I'm not afraid of digging deeper, and it kind of started there. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's so crazy that she outrightly asked you, like, do you love
Oh my
yourself?
gosh, straight up. She looked me dead in the
Because
eyes.
that is mad, because I feel like a lot of people, and it's beautiful that that evoked, like, you know, a whole journey. But I'll be honest, I used to think I loved myself because I know I'm attractive. I literally used to feel like, yeah, of course I love myself. Like, I know I'm pretty. I
Like, am
think
I
I'm pretty.
blind? And that's what's
Like,
that?
that is
What's
nothing. Like,
that?
that's not even like,
That's like bare est minimum.
it's, I don't even think it's like scrapes the surface of what self love is. And of course, like, it can tie to confidence, but it's just not about surface level stuff. And I really want us to sort of like unpack this. So when she asked you that question, what were your next steps? Like, when you upon reflection, when you started reflecting.
I was like, I felt like my whole existence was a lie. I felt like my delusions just like shattered. You know, because when you think you are someone, or you think you are something, or you think you love yourself, and then you realize, actually, I think I even hate myself. Like, I don't know what this is about. Like, so it made me feel like, wow, like, who am I? What have I been doing? How have I been living? You know, and then I sort of looked to her for guidance a little bit, because I feel like she was the catalyst for me, but she was also starting her journey. You know? So she kind of like guided me a little bit, which was
Yeah.
nice that I had someone like that. But I sort of started to. I cried a lot. I don't know
Real.
if you guys you. I never cried. They've known me for like 1,000 million years. I never cried. They used to call me Ice Queen, Ice Cold, like what Tomisin, like, and I was like that for majority of my life. But this is the part of my journey where I think around then, when I first started like journaling and stuff, I cried every single day
Yeah.
for like 2 weeks. I just was crying, and it wasn't even like, oh, every time I was sad, I would just every emotion that I feel like I had been bottling up for years and years and years would just find a way to come out of me.
Yeah.
And I think doing that sort of helped me feel light again, because before this as well, I was very heavy. There was a lot of like dark, there was a lot of repression and all that. I think kickstarting reflection by journaling, releasing, crying, talking to people, seeking advice, and just spending alone time with myself was kind of the next step I took, because I was genuinely like, what is my life? So it kind of felt like I had to start all over again to like understand who I was and try to rebuild from scratch, if that makes sense. So it took a long, long time, and it was very painful and very like eye opening in a sense.
That's crazy. I was thinking that.
Yeah, I felt so different from everyone around me.
Yeah.
I felt like,
I remember we used to have conversations like, are we crazy?
like, am I mad? Like, what is going on?
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, for sure.
But it just woke up a new person in me. Like, I feel like I'm not completely new person, but I feel like
there was a shift.
Exactly. A lot of me is different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things I picked up on with your answer was when you said you had to spend a lot of time alone. And that was very similar to like what I went through. Because at uni, I didn't have like many close friends. Like, I was cool with a lot of people, but I don't know, for me, I feel like it takes a while for me to really be like super close to someone. And I just didn't really have many friends at uni. And I feel like I was meant to have that experience, because that was my first time really spending time with myself and like sitting with myself and really like being my own go-to. Because at boarding school, even though I've lived away from home, at boarding school, we are surrounded by so many other people, and some of them were also my really close friends. So it almost felt like a comfort blanket. Whereas at uni, I went to uni in Wales, so it was so far away from like where everyone else was. So it was like physically and, you know, emotionally, I had to really go within. And I think that just propelled my journey as well. And I feel like sometimes people are afraid of that time alone. Like, even now that I'm used to having so many people around, sometimes I don't really like being alone as much. But I feel like I have to tell myself that you have to be okay with just sitting with yourself, because the minute you find that uncomfortable, that's an amber flag. Why can't you sit by yourself?
I'm just
Why are
chilling
you
with
running?
yourself.
Like
What are you running
like
away
what are you actually
from?
running from?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I
I
think it's important that you also said that even now, because
mm-hmm.
it's not like, oh, you have this and then all of a sudden you're perfect and you
No,
can never go through any like
no.
changes again,
Yeah.
because even now it takes a lot of effort to be like, what am I running away from? I don't know if
Yeah.
I told you, but sometimes I'll find red flag for me when I've noticed that I've been on TikTok way too much. It's not like I don't like, I love TikTok, but TikTok. But it feels like when I'm on my phone just all the time, scrolling, look, I'll change from TikTok, I'll go to here, just because I don't wanna put my phone down and just sit with what is actually bothering me.
Yeah.
That's when I'm like, okay, that's a red flag. So even now, it's not like, we're automatically just masters at handling everything that comes your
Yeah.
way, but it's important to have that awareness, like you said, to be
Absolutely.
able to be like, okay, I'm doing this, but what am I running away from? And like being willing to act differently
Yeah.
so that you're not like stuck in a just loop of negativity or sadness or whatever it is at
Yeah.
the time,
And I feel like with anything in life, like it does require effort, it does require work, because if it was easy, everyone would be we would all be almost perfect, but it's not. And it's sort of like having grace with yourself as well, especially when you know and you have that awareness that you might be somewhat slipping into the person that you don't want to be, or the person that you were before. Like I've recently sort of like, and we can touch on this as the conversation unfolds, I felt like I made a lot of progress, and then I found myself just kind of like having to fight back to return to what I thought to become. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like, okay, I know all of this information now, and like I've become that person to some extent. But then when you get triggered, it's like, are you going to fold, or are you going to continuously fight and continue the journey? So
So
I
it's kind
think,
of like
yeah,
a continuous process all the
absolutely. It's
time.
not like you read one book and you're like this new person. It doesn't work
You can
like
be a new
that.
person but for like 1 week and then you have to
Exactly.
keep
And then you have to
working.
keep working.
Yeah.
Even part of that journey about me like continuing this journey is rereading some of the books I read when I first started. Because I feel like you just need a refresh sometimes.
That's
It's been
true.
about 3 years now, or like 2 years now,
That's true.
when I kind of had that awakening.
Yeah.
But still, it doesn't mean like everything I learned at that time is still, I'm still applying in my day to day life. I might have the knowledge, but it might just be at the back of my head. I need to continuously refresh myself of the knowledge and also be actionable in the way.
Exactly.
Yeah, I
Exactly.
become.
Exactly. I don't know. It's like it's a practice.
Yeah.
And I was just talking to our friend Raya yesterday about this, in saying that I feel like a lot of the times people also have this expectation that once you sort of start anything really, um, you have to work towards being perfect at that thing. So for example, on this journey, it's like one would think, oh, you have all this knowledge, you've had the experiences, you've read the books, so now why should you be slacking? Why should you be
Yeah.
falling off? So that expectation of I can't fall off also kind of makes us feel much worse when we do
Yeah.
fall off, and makes it more difficult to get back on track,
Yeah.
as opposed to being more understanding that the journey is exactly that. It's a journey. So sometimes you're like this and sometimes you'll fall off. But the only thing that really matters is how quickly it takes for you to put yourself back on that path. Because obviously not everybody's going to be happy, smiley 200% of the time.
It's not even possible.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
So just being like, okay, I'm going through a rough patch right now. I understand that. I'm going to allow myself to experience that. But when I'm done, I pack it up and, get right back on track. And I feel like the reason a lot of people are even hesitant to starting anything really again is because people are not transparent enough about the fact that it's not linear. You're not going to start and be perfect, and you are going to fall off,
Real.
and it is okay to fall off as well. Like that is part of it. For every single, you can't show me one person that no matter how successful you are in whatever it is that you're doing, you're not gonna have low days, or you're not gonna have times
Yeah.
where you can't wake up in the morning, or you don't feel like waking up in the morning. Like it's
Yeah.
not possible, And I feel like that expectation is really harmful as well on something like this, because it stops you from even trying before you start.
The thought of failing is more overwhelming than you actually just trying. And it's so funny because when you think about even just successful people, like say in the music space, it's not your favorite artist. For example, with me, I love Nicki, for example. It's not every
Barb.
bar. It's not every single song that Nicki puts out that is going to go number one. Doesn't mean she's less of a goat. No,
Ah!
it
The barb
doesn't.
is activated.
The bar is activated. It doesn't
No,
mean
that's
she's less of a
forever.
goat. It just means that this might not have met that standard, but it doesn't mean it's not even as good. It just
That's
means
true.
that was what went number one. So some days you're not going to be your number one. Doesn't mean you're not number one in yourself. It just means that day you didn't show up as number one.
And now imagine if Nicki Minaj, after she made one song that wasn't number one, she's not. I'm done.
Exactly. I'm gonna stop
I'm not
making
making music
music
anymore. Like I don't.
Yeah.
Especially when it's something that you want to do. Just
Yeah.
keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going. Yeah.
I feel like in like the self development space, there are a lot of buzzwords that.
Oh gosh.
Wait, throw some at me.
Oh my gosh, I don't even know. Like, I don't even know. I feel like now, like manifestation is a buzzword.
Yeah,
I
for
feel
sure.
like projection. I feel
Yep.
like I don't know. I just feel like people just say words.
Yeah, they're just saying things, and they don't even. Sometimes I don't feel like they know what it means.
And I feel like sometimes it's unfair to people that are not as deep in the space,
Yes.
because it pushes. Why would you be just using
That was
grammar?
and that was my question.
know?
Because I feel like there are a lot of buzzwords in this space, and sometimes that can almost throw people off. And also, it's not very clear what it actually means. And if someone is trying to do better, it's best to just break it down to them in like layman terms and just really just explain it as what it is, rather than it being something like, oh, you should be this and you should be that, and why aren't you that? So I want to know, like, how do you navigate this space without feeling completely overwhelmed and like just sticking to the script and not getting distracted by all these
By the buzzwords for
yeah
me
yeah
personally, I think for me it's a little bit different, because when I was in school, I majored in psychology. So those are words that I actually understand what they mean.
yeah
And like I'm also
she said
very
I'm not dumb.
okay. I'm very interested in psych as well. So I tend to like study these things. So I think for me, it's a little bit different, because I think what I do is I try not to overly use them, and I try to instead use them for myself to identify something if I need to.
Right.
But for example, in my content, I wouldn't be like, oh, like, I don't know, I wouldn't say something like, just like, oh, actually, you're just projecting, you're not, like, I don't know, I wouldn't say that, because I understand that people want to feel, they don't just want to be spoken at or to hear. So I think in my personal experience, I genuinely just like learning about things like that, and learning how to apply that to, okay, how do I feel? How can I identify a certain emotion? How can I identify when I'm having a certain reaction? Or even sometimes in others. I think I tend to like do that in others as well. But I think in this space, sometimes I'm just like, especially when I see that people are just saying it to sound a certain way, I'm just like, whatever, because at the end of the day, it's, for me, boils down to how I feel and how I'm making other people feel, as opposed to pointing fingers, if that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. What actionable steps do you think people could take if, say someone listened to this episode and like, okay, I really do want to get to know myself better. What can I do? Like, where do I start from? Because it
Ooh.
is overwhelming. Like, you can listen to all of this and be like, okay, what do I do?
Like, what am I supposed to do
Yeah.
now?
I think you say one and then I'll say one.
Okay. If you follow me, I'm giving you serious eye contact because I say this every time. I think the number one way, especially if you're just getting started, is to journal. Every time I say journaling, like, beats me, I don't care, but it's literally free therapy.
Yeah.
It's at first it might be confusing because I know the reason a lot of people don't do it is because they either don't know what to write or privacy reasons. People don't want to feel like that vulnerable with their
Yeah.
words and thoughts, and I completely understand that. But especially if you're an overthinker or you're anxious or stressed in general, journaling is the best way to literally like just offload your mind. It literally feels like once you write something down on paper, even if it's not gone completely, it's a little bit less.
Yeah, it's a release.
It's
Yeah.
exactly, it's a little bit less. It bothers you a little bit less than it would have before you did that. And I think the reason why I recommend it so much as well is because you never know what's going to come out. When you do that stream of, what is it called? Stream of consciousness, journaling, it's like you solve so many of your own problems.
Yeah.
You discover so many like light bulb moments, so many things that you might have overlooked because you're constantly living a fast-paced life. Taking that time to slow down and reflect will really, really teach you a lot about yourself and also give you that avenue to release some of the emotions that you might be holding on to, especially if you don't know how to release emotions any other way. So I definitely recommend that as number one. And there's so many ways to, I even have free journal prompts like in my bio if you need.
She
There's so
does.
many ways to do it and to do it privately where you feel comfortable enough to kind of express. So that would be my number one station.
That was a sound answer. And journaling really does help. I can definitely confirm it's true. I'm not as consistent as I used to be, but
Same.
when I was in my journaling bag, oh my gosh. It's even like I felt like I became wiser as well because I was just more aware of myself and other people.
Yeah.
And so I knew how to respond.
Yeah. Oh my god, that's so true.
Yeah.
It's like you're seeing yourself from like third person.
Yeah.
You're not too wrapped up in
You're not,
you.
yeah.
Wow.
Sure. Okay, mine would be, I want to say spending time alone because I feel like sometimes this often gets a bad rep, and sometimes people actually don't want to be alone because, like, I don't know, say you don't have companions or you live by yourself or whatever. I know that can be challenging in its own right, but there is a twist or there is a rainbow at the end. I feel like spending time by yourself really does open your eyes to be who you are. I think if you live by yourself, that's already like an excellent, beginning.
Yeah.
But I really do think sitting with yourself and like, it might sound crazy, but like having conversations with yourself and
Really?
yeah, like think about, for example, sometimes when I'm going through something and the situation is like, happening, right? Obviously, when we're going through stuff, sometimes we speak to our friends, like I'll, say call Tomisin and we're like, okay, Tomisin, this is how I feel, blah, blah, blah. And then Tomisin will be like, okay, she might give me her perspective and, we get off the phone and we go about our day. At what point have I sat within myself and be like, what do I actually think about this? Because sometimes you really do know the answer. I touched on this in my previous episode with YT and when we talked about getting different people's perspectives and just really trusting yourself. But I really do believe that's an excellent way to master yourself because you know how you think. You also know how to respond. You know what the triggers are. You know when you're overreacting or when you're in the wrong or when something doesn't sit right with you. Because you spend time with yourself, you can recognize that actually this doesn't resonate with who I am. But if you're never within yourself, you're never going to know when something is not for you because you don't even know who you are.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I really do believe spending time with yourself and just like look within.
Look within.
It sounds
Guys,
cringe,
look
but
within.
actually look within and you'll find something. It might not be like a quick 30 minutes answer, but just sit on things, reflect on things. I'm doing this new thing now where if I don't have an answer, I'll say I'll get back to you. And not in like a I'll get back to you because I don't want to like, you know, I know the answer, but I just don't want to hurt your feelings and say I'll get back to you. It's like, no, I'm actually going to sit on this and like I will get back to you. I need time to process this. And that's okay. I know we live in such a fast paced world where it's really like, oh, you have to be on this, you have to be on this, you have to be on this. Where it's like, no, actually, I will get back to you on my time. And you're gonna be okay with and you're gonna be okay with that. Like we'll all be okay with it. Because I know when I get back to you, I know I'm getting back to you with a solid answer.
One that's coming
From my heart.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's so important. So I feel like who you are when you are completely alone,
That's your true self.
that's you.
Yeah.
So why not like get to know that person?
Exactly.
Why not like get to like that person?
Right.
Even,
right.
Because at the end of the day, who else? Like when you're back in your house and you're alone, like who else is there?
Yeah. And I think the easier you make peace with that person, the easier your life will be. Because you know that's who you are at your core.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's nice.
Thanks, bestie. What question do you have for me? Give me something.
Let me give you something light,
Okay.
Let's see.
Let's see.
So I know this episode not where. Oof, guys, if you listen to my podcast, this is what I do every day. I don't know how to speak. I know this episode is about self mastery. So I wanted to ask what you define that as and if you think it is a realistic expectation for people to have. Like, should I want to master myself or is that something that is only reserved for a certain kind of people?
Wow, that is a 10 out of 10 question. Solid question. No, I do not think it's something that is reserved for a certain type of person. And I do think it's absolutely achievable. What I would define as self mastery is just really knowing who you are at your core. And again, it sort of like ties into what we are speaking about previously. I think like spending time with yourself, journaling, being in touch with your creative expression or whatever way you express yourself, also knowing who you want to be, who you were before, all these different like steps in becoming or all these different things that tie into who we are as our present self right now. I think that all ties into self mastery because when you really start to journal now, you start to reflect on things from the past, for example, then you can recognize your triggers, you can recognize trauma, you can recognize when you were repressing some certain emotions, and then you start to think about who you are now and how you're feeling, and then you sort of like form a creative expression and you start to understand and see yourself through a realistic point of view. Because sometimes I feel like we're very ego driven in the sense that like it's just easier because you sort of like tie your self-image to what other people are saying, and sometimes that's not necessarily bad, and if you're lucky enough to have good people that are speaking good to you, that can be true, but there's also other parts of yourself that you might not have necessarily confronted or other people might not let you be aware of. And then when you are sitting with your present self and you start to get a true sense of who you really are at your core, that helps to define who you then want to be. And I think that all just ties into self mastery. So I think it's like a journey of past, present, and future. Yeah, I think that's what I would say my definition is.
I agree with that. And just to kind of build on that, I feel like when you spoke about knowing who you are, using who you are to know who you want to become, I think that is so, so, so key because when you know who you are, things that are holding you back from being who you want to become, you now understand what that is and how to fix it. I think I would add on top of the definition by also saying that it's you being at that level of yourself where you know those things and you are actively
Yeah.
not afraid to put in the actions to becoming that version of yourself that you're trying to become or to master. Because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I feel like awareness is one thing, but for you to like you're your own oga, like you know
Yeah.
yourself and you know what you can do and what you have the power to become. I don't know, I feel like it takes a lot,
It
and people
does.
like that, you know them, you can recognize them anywhere. You know
Absolutely.
that
Yeah.
they know who they are and
Yeah.
they're doing it perfectly. So I feel like that is a very very important point that you touched on, just like using that past to build. Yeah, it's crazy.
It is. And I'm so happy that I didn't know what questions she was going to ask me. Um, and she didn't know what questions. My guests never know what questions I'm going to ask them. But I'm happy that you asked me this, and like it wasn't something that I thought about before. So it really did come from my heart. And I really do believe that. Like I really, really do believe that. And I also feel like it's very important to recognize that it's actually a journey, because sometimes you might sit within yourself and you might hate what you see, and that's okay. That's absolutely fine too.
And it
You know,
happens,
it
it does
happens,
happen.
and the real work is like, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
It's funny because oh my god, we're actually like debating this. Was it last night or the night before? We're talking about if people actually change. We were talking about if people actually change, and I say no. I say people can evolve, but who you are at your core is really who you are. And the reason why I say people don't change is because the change is actually a lot of work.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't really care to do that, or, they don't want to do that. And it's fair enough if it's not harming other people, but when it starts to harm other people, that's when it sort of like becomes a problem. But again, my point was it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And if it's easy, everyone would do it.
Yeah.
If it was easy, everyone would be this healed, fairy go lucky version of themselves. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. It's a lot. I feel like a lot of why I even do what I do is because I genuinely have the belief that everybody can do it. Everybody has that ability to know and love themselves, whether it's to a certain extent. I'm not even gonna come and sit here and be like, oh my god, like I'm so in love with myself every single day.
Yeah.
Like that's just not very realistic. But I do believe that every single person can. But I feel like you were saying, what is missing? Even not even the fact that on top of the fact that it's now difficult, there's now a big like knowledge gap. I feel
Right.
like people don't know how.
Right.
If it was that this was readily available to people in ways that were actually digestible and in
Yeah.
ways that is like warm and makes you
Yeah.
want to get to know yourself, not
Yeah.
being like, "Ugh, you don't know yourself, like what the,
Yeah.
like just like
Not like
shaming
snobby,
people.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, or condescending.
Exactly. I feel
Absolutely.
like that would open an avenue for people to want to be curious
Yeah.
about themselves and do this, because I genuinely believe that everybody can, and everybody, you know, all that's missing is that someone to just pull you in, if that makes sense. And I kind of want to be that person for a lot of people, because
Yeah.
this is something that changes your whole life in so many good ways
It
that
does.
can be very transformational. So I don't know. I feel like, what do you think? Do you think that people do you think that people know and like choose not to? Do you think it's an active effort, or do you think that all it takes is a little more pull for people to like start to put in the work?
I think it's the latter. I definitely believe when and I agree with what you said about there being a knowledge gap. I feel like a lot of people actually don't know how,
Yeah.
because even with me, it's something that it sort of like fell into my lap, in the sense that I stumbled across a video and
Is that
I
how it
went,
started for you?
yeah,
A video?
a video on YouTube by True Brilliance, who I absolutely adore. I've said it before, and like
Wow.
I think a previous YouTube video, I was in my uni bedroom and I stumbled across a video, and it's sort of like when I went into just like a rabbit hole. But I'm naturally quite a curious
Mm.
person. But again, when I started learning that these like this wisdom was so important to me, I started to seek it even more. So
Mm.
there comes a point where you actually have to actively want to seek
That's
it,
true. And it'll show
and
itself
it
to
will show
you.
itself to you. And that's with anything, I think. But I definitely don't feel like people sometimes just choose not to do things. No, I also don't think they're not allowed the space to show up as who they currently are. It's hard
Mm.
to come and say, oh wow, I need help with this, when you already look down on who you already
Exactly.
are at the moment. And I do think we just sort of like need to offer a space where people can just learn from people, which is why I started this podcast, to be honest. After a point in time, I felt like I almost had a responsibility to share, because I had
Mm.
learned so much, and I was like, wow, this has really helped me. And I learned from other people as well,
Mm.
which is why this is like interview and like conversation based. And I was like, wow, like I've learned all of this stuff. I really want to help other people learn this information,
Yeah.
because if you don't know, you can't do better. If no one's telling you that this is, an issue, how are you going to know it's an issue?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's true. That's
Yeah.
amazing. I'm proud of you because you are doing it.
I'm proud of you
And it's
too.
good.
Thank you, babe. How's your community with like me, myself, and love? How's that been like?
As a community,
Yeah. What's your favorite part about having a community?
what's my favorite part? I feel like it's kind of just bouncing off what we just spoke about, in the sense that you get to see a real life impact in people. You get to see people sort of like loosen up a little bit. You kind of see people be okay with asking more questions and being curious and being like, oh my god, I did this today, like I journaled today or something like that. Literally is like it
Your
makes me
drug.
so happy to
Yeah.
just see that, kind of just being myself is able to open up a new world for so many other people,
Yeah.
and create that space for many people as well. So yeah, that's just my goal, and it's really good to be watching it happening in real time. I think it's like literally like a dream come true. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's cool. Yeah.
And is that what you want to get out of this space?
Definitely. Definitely. I think just keep going. I just want to keep going, as many people as I can. You know when sometimes you're just scrolling, or like exactly like how it happened for you, like you just see a video, or you just
Mm-hmm.
see like something I've posted and something just clicks for you, and you're like, huh, like I want that. I want that for as many people as possible, because the tiniest awareness is what opens up that new world and that new space for you, where you can now, even if it's not with me or with my content, you can open up that world for yourself and
Yeah.
begin to actually discover yourself. So if I can be that catalyst for people, I'm okay. I'm okay with that. That's what I would like to keep
Love
doing.
that. That's so beautiful. So before I ask you my final question, did you have any other questions for me?
I feel like we touched on a lot of them.
But like
We did,
in
like,
like
in the
all
middle of
tiding.
conversation. Maybe just how or what do you think has made you able to successfully stick to this journey?
That's a really good question. I feel like I say that every time you ask me a question. I'm like, that's a really
Just like
good question. um, mm, I feel like having people like you around, that also a reflection of what I want to be.
Mm.
And like,
Wow.
yeah, I think that really does help, because I truly believe that the people you surround yourself with play a part in you, whether you recognize or not. and
That's
sort of
true.
like having people. I feel like all my really close friends speak life into me. And I'm really grateful because my love language is words of affirmation. So I think that really helps me continuously.
Like stick it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. And yeah, sorry, what were you going to say?
I was just gonna say, like, I feel like that's why it's very important to be very aware and very careful of the people that you have around you,
Yeah.
because I had a phase like that before this whole thing where the people around me were so toxic.
Damn.
Like, actively, like, I was already in a bad place and actively dragging me
Oh.
down even lower. Maybe sometimes without even knowing it.
Yeah.
But sometimes when you hang out with someone and you leave and you're just like, you're just feeling
That was
bad.
heavy.
You're feeling somehow, you're
Yeah.
feeling negative, and like, yeah, I feel like that's why it's just very important to, like you said, be aware of who's around you and just kind of be sure that it's
Yeah. You should
that's very
definitely feel
good.
lighter. If you're in a room or you've just had a conversation with someone and you're like, that was heavy, I think that's a signal to unpack that. Like, why did that make me feel heavy? Was it the person, or is it a projection? Was it what the conversation was about? It could be different factors, but I think again, having that awareness and knowing when something feels good, also have to, like, trust your intuition and trust your body. But I feel like that's a whole other, like,
No, literally,
thing that we
could go
could get
on.
into. But I always like to end my episodes with, you know, asking my guests what the ikigai is. Ikigai is a Japanese concept. It's a Venn diagram that consists of 4 different circles, and it translates to a reason for being. So, for you as Tomisin today, what do you love?
What do I love? Period.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Are you asking like what's my middle circle or just
No,
like what do
just
I love?
I'm gonna ask the individual
Oh,
questions. So it could be
individually.
anything.
Oh,
Yeah.
what do I love? I love peace. I
Mm.
love peace. I love knowing that everything is working out for me and my life is just, I'm not, I love peace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you good at?
Babe.
I could write a book.
Not even that. Like sometimes I feel like I don't know, but whatever. That's something else. What am I good at? I would say I am quite creative. I'm good at creating and designing and curating things to look good, sometimes to sound good. Guys, when I write, people tell me I'm a good writer, but I don't really write that much. But I think I'm good at like creating, if that makes sense. And yeah.
Creatively expressing
Yeah.
yourself. Yeah. I think that's so true. Ooh. What can you be paid for?
What can I be paid for? Okay. Oh, I'll be serious. I think I could be paid to sort of like guide and lead others.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like everything that I've been through and everything that I've experienced to sort of be able to guide others through the same way and like sort of like, hold your hand through the whole process and like teach, mentor, inspire. Like I think I could be paid for that.
Yeah. What do you think the world needs?
Oh my god, more love. Like it's
Yeah.
just period. Like why do we all hate each other so much?
Like, why?
Like what is it? I just everywhere you turn, it's like now I train myself to see love everywhere, but you can still feel that there's just there needs we need more.
There's a disconnect.
The world needs more love. Period.
Period. Well, she said, well, do you have any more questions? Should we wrap this up here?
We can wrap it up.
Yeah.
We can wrap it up.
You happy?
If I ask another question, we're gonna talk for 20 hours.
Oh my god,
Keep
yeah.
talking.
And they're gonna kick us out any minute from now. So
Yeah.
thank you guys for watching and or listening. Please watch the episodes on YouTube because I put in a lot of work to make sure they go on YouTube as well. So if you can watch on YouTube, that would be great. But if you just listened, I also really appreciate and thank you for listening. I guess different people have like different ways they like to consume. Do you listen or watch podcasts?
Listen.
I like to watch, you know.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
I listen. Cause my attention span is really, I feel like when I'm watching sometimes I still end up just listening. If that makes sense.
right.
So
Yeah.
listening.
To be fair, when I watch, I'm doing like other stuff in the background, except I'm just like chilling out and watching. But I like to see. I'm a visual girl. Thank you
she
guys.
has something for everybody. So.
I do. Thank you so much for tuning in. I love you. I will see you in my next one.
We love you.
Love you.
Bye.